Alright, hey guys. I'm gonna take off the starting soon thing here. Sorry for the late start, guys. Well, that is what it is. So, hello everyone. Welcome to It Builds... Off to a great start. It Builds character number 9. This is a weekly show, or at least it tries to be weekly when things don't get out of control. And where I build characters suggested by folks just like you watching it. You tell me what you want me to try to build, and I will attempt to build it. So here's the thing. This week, episode number 9, is Ichigo from Bleach. So, probably more so than any other anime character and any other anime that I have personally watched. I'm going to tell you up front, I'm relying heavily on you folks from the chat. So you're going to have to step up your game and get on my level, because there's so much. He has like 8 billion powers and abilities and parental heritages and things of that nature. And I watched like 14 episodes of Bleach. And then I looked on Wikipedia and my brain exploded. Because I don't have, and it's not like it's an anime out there where there is, a couple of seasons. There's 27 seasons that I can find on the internet relatively easily. And then there's the manga, which is, I don't even know how many issues. So, I just didn't have time to absorb it all. And all of the names of all of the attacks and abilities are... And again, if you love Bleach, no disrespect. From what I've watched, it seems like a good show, although I have seen that there's some issues with some of the different arcs of the show in my research that I guess it apparently starts to dissipate, and people are a little upset that he's basically got all these unique snowflake-style abilities and has no character development. Again, this is just what I've gathered from the internet. So there's just so much. Just so much. And, the difference between, I don't even know. He's got, 8 billion different abilities intrinsically. The guy is, even before any of the Shinigami Soul Reaper stuff, he's pretty strong. He's pretty agile. He's 23rd in his class, so he's pretty intelligent, and he can take one hell of a beating. So right there, you need, in D&D terms, good strength, good dex, good con, and good intelligence. He has the ability to break binding spells and things that are fairly powerful, which anything similar to that, I would guess, would be a hold person style ability. And that means he's able to break those, which would mean a good wisdom. And all of the girls want his dick. So he's got to have a somewhat good charisma. So he's just, this is a, basically, we're looking at 17s across the board on this. Yes, organic artist. We have, every Wednesday night, I build characters in Dungeons & Dragons. So, the way it works, and I'll just give you guys a primer, and again, for new folks as well as returning folks, we try and build this with as minimal amount of homebrewing as possible. Obviously, we know when we did Hellboy, we needed to homebrew as there was no half-human, half-demon race. So that was the thing. We built Iron Man. We obviously had to homebrew Repulsor Blast and Iron Man suits. So we're limited in what we can do. But we start off every character. We build them all at level 12. So I'll just put in here that whatever he ends up being, he's 12th level. So this is a 5. And we start off with the standard array of stats. So 15, 14... Oh, actually, they went in that order. 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, 8. And then we get his ratio bonuses and then proficiency bonuses as he levels up. We pick stats, we pick skills that seem, skills that seem accurate. And then we'll try to pick feats and things, and then magic items, and try to cater. In what we use pretty much is anything that has been in a published source or unearthed arcana as a legitimate enough source to allow us to build this character. But as I was saying, the problem being with someone like Ichigo, or I'm going to go out on a limb and say most... I could have used Tanaruk for Hellboy, but we homebrewed like a half-demon based off of Cambion. But we're getting out of... we're, losing track. So, the problem, like I was saying, with Ichigo and most anime characters is that they get exponentially better every season, as do the enemies that they fight. So it's sort of a never-ending gear grind or ability grind for anime characters. And I guess I should take a step back. This isn't the first anime character I built, but Tuxedo Mask is arguably much less ability heavy as someone like Ichigo. Ichigo and Tuxedo Mask, they're not even close to the same level. I think I have Goku on the list that somebody suggested. So that's another one that I'm going to just be like, well, fuck. I mean, he's got 25s and everything, and whatever, so, yeah. Tuxedo Mask was an easy anime character to build. Somebody who has Hollow Blood and Quincy Blood, and he's Shinigami, and he's got 8 billion different techniques that are unique that only he could do, and he exudes all of this other ability stuff, and his sword is actually 2 swords, but it's controlling him, but it's not, and he has a black, oh god, I don't even remember what the moves are called. There's so much. Just so much. So, I'm going to look to you guys, and I think the best way that we're going to be able to do this is if we pick a version of Ichigo, and that's the one we decide to build. We can't... I feel like we will be here all night if we choose, like, series end Ichigo. So let's pick an arc, or him at a point in time, and we will use that as our basis. And then from that, we'll have to see what we need. So I'm going to leave that up to you, chat. What's the chosen arc / point in time you'd like to build him? And then we'll see what we can get. Because full stop, 90% of his abilities don't quantify into any kind of spell that I can think about that like really makes sense to me. Because let's see if I can think about the names of those. So you've got... There's just so many abilities. So there's the Hollow Mask, kind of that whole thing in Hollow Ichigo. And I don't really know how you quantify that sort of, like... the closest thing to an existing mechanic in 5e, I guess, would be a Rage, even though that's a horrible example. But it's like a form change, I guess, or maybe some sort of lycanthropy, where you're changing forms to get access to new, stronger abilities. But, let's see. Because then you've got to deal with all of his... Yeah, it just... So many abilities. I tried to just get, like, a quick, like, give me everything you can on this, but there's just so much. There's no real, like, easy way to determine that. Yes. So I'm... Yeah, I'm, like, trying to also flip through... Yeah, Ichigo in 3.5, I think I could just go with, like, a Sword Sage, and I think I could probably be as close as I'm gonna get. I've heard, yeah, well, in 3.5, I probably, like I said, organic. In 3.5, I have confidence that if we were doing this in 3.5, I could build anybody anywhere, because the amount of power creep and things you could have in 3.5 by chaining 5 prestige classes and 3 or 4 items that you could easily acquire, and the lack of attunement items like magic items are in 5e, I could build anybody in 3.5 with a little bit of research, hands down. 5e is much more limited in what you can do, and you really can't make as much OP characters as you could back then. So, alright, we got some suggestions here. Season 23 out of 27. I'm thinking we're going to go with that. I've heard the Soul Society arc. I didn't get that far. I've heard that's like the arc of choice. I don't know if that's true. I don't know what that means either. So, let's see here. Alright. Okay. So Soul Society arc seems to be the arc of choice. So we're going to go with that. What that means for me is I'm not sure. So we've kind of gotten through the initial arc, which is sort of what I was watching, where he just starts to learn about why he can see spirits, and then he figures out that he becomes, a Soul Reaper, and then he's sort of learning through the abilities and things of that nature. Alright, so let's talk class, because that's where we're going to start this off. So, now, so let's talk. So Ichigo is... He has... I mean, the sword, obviously, is a huge part of that. So that's... What is that? Oh, God. I can't even remember the name of the sword. I want to say Zangetsu, but I don't know if that's right. So he uses swordplay more than anything else. That's like his main MO, his main move, is swordplay. So that's obviously going to have to come into play and be very important in how we build the overall character. So there's a lot of characters that let us get access to swords and to be able to wield them accurately. So that's good. We have some options there. So we could look at, say, a fighter. Maybe you could argue Paladin, kind of, because, like, Soul Reaper, sending beings to the beyond, and, that whole thing. That's kind of Paladin-y. The ability to see spirits, you could argue, is a Divine Sense, which is a Paladin ability. So there's some justification for that, but Paladins are way too limited in their spellcraft and their abilities, I feel like, to truly be... And none of them really sync up well with the kind of... He has a lot of ranged and, like, blast attacks. So I'm thinking... I'm thinking Warlock. I feel like Warlock is probably the way to go. Pact of the Blade Warlock, because Eldritch Blast could be a substitute for a lot of his kind of the energy-based attacks that he does, the Bankais and all the other things. So yeah, I feel like Hex Blade is probably the go-to. I mean, Pact of the Fiend. Yeah, there's some good options here. So, Pact of the Fiend has a lot of fire-based attacks, and their abilities up front are temporary hit points when you kill a creature, and then... What else do we have? We have, like, the Luck ability. But I'm thinking Hex Blade may work, as that lets you use your Charisma for your attacking. It gives you, like, boosted AC, because you can get medium armor. But you can Hex Blade Curse, which lets you... The target you choose, You can crit on a 19 or 20. If you kill them, you get HP. And you do extra damage to them. So that kind of seems... And Hex Blade, the spells that you get for Hex Blade are... that your extended options are pretty good. So we may go Hex Blade. You guys are saying Monk, and I might argue Kensei Monk, which was an Unearthed Arcana class, as was Hex Blade. Kensei Monk was a monk that focuses on weapon-based combat. If we could get some sort of nice mix of Kensei Monk and Hex Blade Warlock, something that seems viable, that may work. Then we run into the problem of stats, because again, he's got like stats off the chart for everything, essentially. But alright, so we're gonna start with that. Let's go and grab let's go grab our, what do we need? We need Unearthed Arcana Hex Blade. Okay, so we'll grab that. We got that, and we'll grab Arcana Kensei, which I believe both of these are making it into Xanathars, so that is a good thing. So we'll grab this one. Does this one have the revised? Does this have the... Alright, and we need the updated invocations on our... Invocations. Okay. Let's see here. Alright, so let's take a look through some abilities. So, first of all, we might have to do some stuff a little wonky for this, but let's look at the Hex Blade. Your options: Shield, Wrathful Smite, Branding Smite, Magic Weapon, Blink, Elemental Weapon, Phantasmal Killer, Staggering Smite, Cone of Cold, and Destructive Wave. Those sound like pretty solid abilities, and a lot of them based on a lot of the, what are they, Getsugas and all the different other things. I don't even know if he has those at that point. I think those might be in a later arc. But either way, we have some good radial based attacks. Eldritch Blast, you could say for flavor, he shoots it from the tip of his sword. So that sort of works. So we'll keep going. We've got... oops, let's get rid of this. We can use the Hex Warrior ability, which lets us use our Charisma instead of Strength for our blade attacks. So that could be something to look into. Then we've got Hex Blade's Curse, bonus action Hex, damage addition equal to your proficiency bonus, crit on a 19 or 20, and get additional HP when you kill a creature. The Shadowhound doesn't really fit too much, and actually I do know 100% for certain that this will not be what's in Xanathars. The Hexblade's going to get some super badass thing that lets them summon spirits that they can fight with, which is even more Ichigo, but we don't have that, unfortunately. Yeah, well, we haven't locked anything in, Hypertroller. We can swap his charisma around. These aren't locked in yet. And then later on, we get Armor of Hexes, which is our Hex creature. We hex them, which if we decide to go 10 levels deep. Now let's look at Kensei. So, we get all of our monk-based abilities, our martial arts abilities, and things of that nature. Our unarmored AC. By Path of Kensei is choose 2 weapons to be your Kensei weapons. We would obviously choose our packed weapon as well. So, let's see. It gets additional abilities. When you reach, you can choose another type of weapon. If you make an unarmed strike as an if you make an unarmed strike as part of the attack action on your turn, you're holding your Kensei weapon, you can use it to defend. You can use a bonus action on your turn to make your ranged attack with a Kensei weapon more deadly. When you do so, any target you hit with a ranged attack takes... using Kensei weapon takes an extra d4, so that's not actually that useful for us. Let's just see. Proficiency with the weapon, and they're considered monk weapons for you. Which, for the purposes of this, that would mean you could use your dexterity. This could be an interesting chaining situation. Let's see, what have we got here? Hit a living construct template. You could set his age to venerable and set his bonuses to his mental stats. That's true, although technically that is not 5e stuff, but we may have to do, like I said, we try to keep the homebrew to a minimum, but sometimes it just doesn't work. So we'll have to mess around. But let's keep checking. So he's not really going to be making unarmed strikes. He can use his, let's see. Make a bonus action on your turn to make your ranged attacks with Kensei weapon more deadly. That's kind of stupid. We don't even care about that. I really thought the way of the Kensei let you make a bonus action attack with your melee weapon. I don't believe they were. There was, yeah, the 5e Warforged is garbage, but it's a thing that exists. Because the 5e Warforged was the first Unearthed Arcana ever produced, and they haven't even gone back to touch it since then. And it's one of the weakest classes, or the weakest races that's been added to the game. I'd argue that the living construct from the folks at Kobold Press, the Kobold Press Warforged, which we can look into. We can pull that up and look at that. We can take a look at the Warforged from Kobold Press. It's much better. The 5e, we can look at it, you know, for the purposes of this, just for everybody's edification. But it's just not good. So, yeah, I really thought Kensei monks had a bonus action with their monk weapon, which that actually kind of sucks that they don't get that. Yeah. Kensei weapon, yeah, use it to defend. I really, honestly, swore that they had this ability to use their monk weapon. Kind of magical. Hit a target. You can spend a key point to cause a weapon to deal extra damage to the target equal to your martial arts die. Take your... Yeah, alright. We may end up just going with Warlock, because I think we'll be stronger overall. But let's look at what else is in here. Unless they revised the Kensei in here. They did not. But they did add some new invocations, so we can take a look at these. So... we can give him the Eldritch Smite feature, which lets him spend Warlock spell slots to deal extra force damage, which is very Ichigo Fighting Spirits force damage. So that's a thing we can do. We can give him the improved pack weapon, so it does a little bit more damage. We could give him Kiss of Mephistopheles, which is when he hits a creature with Eldritch Blast, he can detonate a fireball at that creature. That's pretty solid. These are all sounding relatively good to me. Let's see. Ghostly Gaze. You can see through solid objects. I don't really know if that totally fits. Maddening Hex is when you hex a creature. You can choose on your turn to do bonus damage and charisma damage to charisma modifier and psychic damage to them. Relentless Hex lets you teleport towards the creature of your target of your hex. Trickster's Escape lets you cast Freedom of Movement once without spending a slot. And Cloak of Flies doesn't really fit. But the rest do. Technically, Hypertroller, you can't. You can only Flurry of Blows with unarmed attacks. If you read it. You can take, when you would take your martial arts to do an unarmed strike with your offhand, and your bonus action, Flurry of Blows lets you make 2 unarmed strikes, not 2 weapon attacks. So that's something that I feel like people miss out on. The 2 attacks with the monk weapon are your main attacks. Flurry of your martial arts ability to do a bonus action attack is a punch, and the why don't we just go look at it? How about that, huh? We could just do that and solve all of our issues here. Immediately after you take the attack action, you can spend 1 key point to make 2 unarmed strikes as a bonus action. Which is why I thought that the Kensei let you make unarmed strikes as weapon attacks. Maybe that was the original version. But that's fine. Let's go and grab... let's just take a look at the Cobalt Press Warforged. And we'll see what that looks like. Do I have that downloaded on here? Let's take a look here. Nope. Alright, so let me grab that. Which I have that over here. Are they in this one? Yes, they are. Cool. How long is that going to take to download? Oh, that was quick. Come on. Alright, sorry. Make sure that's not anything important. Oh, cool. Alright. So... Oh, be locked up a little bit here. Alright. Let's take a look at the... Gear Forged, as they're called here. The 5e Unearthed Arcana is the Codex book. There is an Unearthed Arcana Codex, although they got like a cease and desist. There is an, yeah, I think there's an Unearthed Arcana Codex. But Unearthed Arcana is it was a monthly, and then it was a weekly, and now it's back to a monthly article released by Wizards of the Coast on their website. Actually, I can just do this. How about that? Every week for a long period, for several months, and then every month prior and now, the first Monday of every month, Wizards of the Coast release new playtest Unearthed Arcana stuff. So that'll actually be coming out this coming Monday. There will be a new Unearthed Arcana. But anyway, Gear Forged. So... 2 different ability scores of your choice increased by 1. And then your base speed is 35. You're constructed, and your consciousness and your soul reside within a soul gem to animate your mechanical body. You cannot eat, drink, or breathe. You cannot drink potions or gain benefits that come from drinking, eating, or inhaling vapors. You do not naturally sleep. During a rest, you must perform maintenance on all your gears and springs. You can't stabilize when dying with a medicine check or spare the dying. Instead, a successful intelligence check or a mending cantrip is needed. You gain half the usual number of hit points from spells or magical effects against the words spells with the words cure, heal, or healing in their titles. You're immune to disease, poison damage, and the poison condition. And if you're killed but your soul gem and memory are intact, you can be restored to life if your body is repaired and soul forging is cast on it again. Yep. So it's not bad, the Gear Forge, but I think it's gonna. I don't know if it's gonna work too much for this. I like this better because I like the immunity to. Because I think the other one from Wizards got just immunity to disease, which is a fairly infrequent and rare thing to encounter. So, and not immunity to poison was kind of dumb to see a robot get poisoned. So, alright, right now, we're looking to just go Pact of the Blade, Hex Blade Warlock. So, let's see how that does. So, we're going to go here. We're going to say Warlock 12. So, we're going to do a thing. I know it's a little funky, but we're going to make this the 15. And we're going to make this the 8. And he's a human. So we're going to boost his con to... let's see. How do we want to do this? We're going to boost his charisma to a 16. Do Warlocks. Let's go over here and we'll grab Warlock. Just so we're on the right page. Let's see what abilities warlocks get. Their saving throws. They get wisdom and charisma. So we're going to leave this as a 13 because we'll make this a 15. And then let's see. We will give him, so we'll go ability score improvements. And we'll say, because we're counting him sort of as a human here, we'll say resilient con. So that's going to give him proficiency in constitution saving throws and boost his con to a 14. So, we've got that. We'll start filling out some of these later on. He is, let's see here. What does he get as far as skills go? Arcana, Deception, History, Intimidation, Investigation, and Nature, and Religion. I think we're going to give him Arcana. This is about as close as we're going to get to all of this Soul Reaper knowledge. And then Intimidation, Investigation, Nature, Religion, or Deception. What do you guys think? Out of the remaining list there, Deception, History, Intimidation, Investigation, Nature, and Religion. What would you guys say would be one chosen from that list? I think we're going to basically give him the Acolyte background as well. Because it's as close, because like before he started doing all this stuff, he was a student. And that's supposed to be what you're supposed to have. So we'll give him... Alright, so let's take a look real quick at what the Acolyte background gives us. Because like I said, he was basically, before any of this shit went down. So that will give him Insight and Religion. So we'll give him Insight, Religion. We'll give him Deception as his other one. And his human one will give him Perception. Because, you know, he has to survive in 5th edition. So you need Perception. Alright. So, let's go jump down here. He's got 4 cantrips. He is a Warlock. So that automatically means Eldritch Blast is on that list. What else does he get? He's going to have at level 12. 4 cantrips, 11 spells known, 3 slots. There's, oh, I don't actually have the Warlock. I have a Warlock spell sheet, but I don't. I thought I had it saved here, but I guess I don't. That has the proper Warlock sheet. Well, anyway, we can make this Charisma. Yeah, unfortunately, we just don't have the source material. I completely agree with you, Organic. And 3.5, we'd... Also, this show wouldn't be like an hour, half an hour to an hour. I started late, so... But yeah, it wouldn't be a half an hour to an hour if this was 3.5. We'd be here for like 2 hours because we'd be flipping through 15 different books to gather all the shit that we need to do it. Spellcasting class, rather, is Warlock. Spellcasting ability is Charisma. Alright, let's do his ability scores. So, at 4, this is going to go to 18. And then at 8, this is going to go to 20. So, we'll make this 20. So, we know this is going to be 10. And then we're going to have one more ability score unlocked at level 12. My gut says to bump up his dexterity a little bit. We could give him... He doesn't really wear armor, per se. Do we have any good feats that'll give us dex? Let's see. I think I'm just gonna stick with human, because... You know, I know we're technically not, but we'll just stick with human for now. If we have to tweak things as we go through, we will. Yeah, as was I, Organic. I was in and out of a lot of old WotC forums and Giant in the Playground and things of that nature, constantly working to flip through and do that kind of stuff. I don't really have any good +1 dex abilities. that kind of sucks. Alright, well, we'll jump back to Warlock. And then, we can look at the Revenant. We can take a look. Let's go unearthed. We can look. Alright, I will entertain looking at it before I decide that I can't sit here forever and flip through options before we actually have to do something. So if he was a Revenant, he'd lose his feet. 2 different ability scores of his choice would increase by 1. And his Constitution score would increase by 1. He'd regain 1 hit point at the start of his turn every turn when he'd be low, if he's below half health. He'd return to life after 24 hours after death. He also... I think that's it, though. You know, distance and direction, any creature involved in your goal. He doesn't really have that. I mean, for flavor, we could argue that he's a Revenant, but Revenant sucks so bad. Like, it's not good. It's decent for a Dragonborn just because it makes your breath weapon necrotic. Because the necrotic damage is not that heavily resisted. It makes you resistant to necrotic damage, though, which sucks because you're not that resisted. So we'd lose a feat, but we'd still get the +1 con. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. It's not as good because he loses the skill and the feat, but he still keeps the ability score. So why not? Sure. Let's call him. Oops. Oh well. Now he's in a separate. Oops. We're over here now. Wow. We'll call him a Revenant. Last one. Revenant. So this is. This is all the same. This is 13, 14. Yeah, this would be a 15. Yep. So that's all the same. We'll just pull this out of here. There are not really... There are poisons, basically, and that's it that exist in the Dungeon Master's Guide, but there's no real alchemy published things out there, unfortunately. And he will lose perception proficiency. But hey, he's a Revenant. So that it gets us this. We're going to leave off that last part. Damn it. Alright. Well. Let's put that in here. Oh, that... Nope, that ain't working. So, regain 1 HP if below half at start of turn. Body reforms or returns to life within 24 hours. You know what? I'm just gonna flat out. I'm just giving him resistance to necrotic damage, as opposed to the whole like you can know the distance and have this this drive towards killing your whatever your Revenant symptom is. So we're just gonna give him resistance to necrotic damage, and that's what we'll call that. So, actually, maybe we'll keep this a 14, and we wouldn't have made it +1 dex at the start. And we'll make it, say... He'd have gotten a +1 con, a +1 charisma, and we can make it a +1... We can make it a +1 wisdom, and then we can give him just observant. So that'll give him 1, 1, 2, 2. -1. That will give him observance, so his passive perception will be 16. His regular perception will only be a 1, but that's okay. So we'll go here. We got the +2 charisma, +2 charisma, observant feat. Okay, so he is a warlock. So let's jump back over to the warlock abilities. He's gonna know a total of 11 spells known. We're probably gonna take the majority of the ones off of the Hex Blade list. So let's start there. 11 spells known. Shield we're gonna take. And Wrathful Smite, that's 2. Branding Smite. We're not going to take Magic Weapon because our weapon is going to be magic later on. And we won't take Elemental Weapon. We'll take Blink, though. No, we won't take Blink. Blink actually kind of sucks. Phantasmal Killer seems fitting. As does Staggering Smite. And then we'll take Cone of Cold and Destructive Wave. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 of his 11 spells known. So let's go flip down to the Warlock list. And you guys can obviously chime in if you think there's any spells that he requires from the Warlock list here. Between 1st and 5th right now. So he doesn't have any 3rd level spells at all at the moment. So I'm thinking maybe remove Curse is fitting. Maybe Dispel Magic is not a bad one, or Counterspell. They are in theme, and they're useful abilities to have as a Warlock. We're going to give him Hex, because he's a Warlock, and that'll be useful. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 3 more spells total. We got to get him some 2nd level, or some 3rd level spells, probably. So, 5th level, we're good. 1st level, we have pretty good ones, I'd say. At this point, we have some of the best 1st level spells. 4th, Banishment, Blight. Oh, Banishment makes sense. Yeah, we're going to give him Banishment. It's a good one for a Soul Reaper, anyway. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 2 more. Let's go for a 3rd level. We should probably just grab a 3rd or a 2nd here. You know what? With the stuff that he does, I'm just going to give him Dispel Magic. I feel like that's a reasonable choice. I mean, again, these are all, you got to think about these all being flavored to the character, so it might not just be like, oh, magic. It would be flavored to Ichigo. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1 more. So we're either going to probably go for a 2nd or a 3rd level spell here. Hold Person, probably not a bad choice and not unreasonable. Like I said, remove Curse or Counterspell. What do you guys think? And we should have, I think, 2 Mystic Arcanum. Maybe just a 1. Probably just a 1. For a 6th level spell as well. Let's go check. Evening, Macabre. One Mystic Arcanum. So given all the shit that he can do, I'm going to say that his Mystic Arcanum is True Seeing. Because I feel like that fits the character pretty well. So we're going to give him his Mystic Arcanum is True Seeing. And we are using Ichigo. We are building Ichigo, but we're building him as a Hex Blade Warlock. So he's focused a Pact of the Blade, Hex Blade Warlock to explain all of his abilities. So he is still a melee-based character, but he's using his charisma for his weapon attacks as opposed to strength per the Hex Blade situation, which is just basically to try to fit him in to explain the way his attacks work. And Pact of the Blade seems to work pretty well for the whole soul reaping, you know, all the different magic behind all that stuff, creating a weapon from nothing and stuff like that. Oh, great. So OBS just decided to crash. Maybe it's back? I don't know. Oh, I have no internet. Okay, well, sorry folks, the internet broke. Oh, it should be back. Maybe it's back now. I hope. Alright, so we're back. Sorry, folks. Internet decided to crap out on me there. So I don't know how much you missed. I'm gonna keep going. There we go. Try refreshing. If it's not back. Yes, Hexblade was the choice. As best the option I feel like we could get to explain the ridiculous amount of powers that Ichigo has and try to shoehorn them into a 5th edition mechanic, which, as we know, he has so much stuff. We're going for the Soul Society arc, just to throw that out there. Again, I'm relying heavily on you guys for this one because there's just so much Bleach, and I couldn't get through all of it in a week. Too much other stuff to just sit down and binge through an entire series. We made him a Revenant to sort of give him the hollowish nature here. We were gonna go, well, Hexblade is its own patron, technically. So it's not technically infernal, it's the Hexblade Patron, which is in the form of a... Technically, 5th edition is wonky. So Hexblades in previous editions were just users of Hex magic, right? In 5th edition, Hexblades are supposed to be getting their magic, and their warlocks have a patron who grants them their abilities. So it's supposed to be a sentient weapon that grants you your abilities, but they don't give you a sentient weapon as part of the class. So it doesn't make a lot of sense in that respect. But given the heavy focus on the way his weapon adjusts and alters, I'm going to say that kind of makes sense that his magical abilities are being through him conjuring a weapon, and his packed weapon. So I feel like that's about as close a fit as we're going to get with this. So, like I said, the nature is also to not spend, 3 hours building a character here, because I still have other things I need to do with my life. So we're gonna call his other one Hold Person. Alright, 3 more cantrips for Ichigo. Now, we usually build the characters in about an hour here. We've done... except for Captain Jack Sparrow, he was like a half an hour. Alright. Warlock cantrips. Well, it depends. It depends. You can look at, I think we can do this, right? There we go. You can see all the other episodes there. We'll go Blade Ward. We'll go... Chill Touch is necrotic damage, so we'll throw in Chill Touch. And, oh, True Strike. It's a horrible cantrip. No one would ever take it. But for the purposes of this, I'm going to say that it happens. So, we've got Hex stuff. So, Charisma for melee attacks. Hex Blades Curse. Bonus action on creature in 60 feet. Crit on 19 or 20. Deal extra damage equal to proficiency bonus. If creature is reduced to 0, reduced to 0 HP, gain Warlock level plus Charisma mod in HP. So we've got that. Alrighty. Moving on. What else we got? We have our Warlock abilities, which is pretty much just going to be Pact of the Blade at this point. Right? Yep. And our Mystic Arcanum, which we already picked. So, we're going to say we are Pact of the Blade. That's good enough for that. And then we will get... I'm going to skip the Shadow Hound thing because it doesn't make any sense and it sucks and it's not really useful for this. So we're going to go Armor of Hexes. When hit with a melee attack by the target of your Hex Blades Curse, roll a d6. On a 4 or greater, the attack misses. This is what happens when you spend too many time building characters. You know all this from... I mean, the Shadow Hound doesn't really do anything in 5e. It just, like, it latches on... You send your shadow to latch onto their shadow. And, like, they feel a sense of foreboding, and you ignore 1/2 and 3/4 cover. And know where they are. So, it doesn't really... It's changing in Xanathar's Guide. Hexblade is in Xanathar's Guide 100%. That is known, and this is changing to, like, you kill a creature and you summon a spirit that fights for you, which is way better than this. So I know because I saw it. I saw a physical copy of Xanathar's Guide. Like, I got to see a page of it, and that's what I got to see. So I know that that's happening. So I'm very excited for that. Because Mike Merles was there, and I kind of, like, peeked over his shoulder and saw the book at HasCon. So, where were we? We have all of our Hexblade abilities. Let's go ahead and fill out this because our ability scores are done. So I know some of these don't make a lot of sense, like the fact that his strength is so low, which doesn't make any sense because he's ridiculously good at everything. But it is what it is. This is a... Wow. 6. This is a -1. This is a 1. Wisdom is a 6. Intimidation 5. Intimidation 1. 1. 1. 5. 5. 6. 2. 2. 1. Alright. So let's do your invocations here. He's a Warlock, so we will have Agonizing Blast. As every Warlock has Agonizing Blast. Exactly. So, alright, we got Agonizing Blast. We're going to go back to the player's handbook here to grab a couple other ones. We are going to grab Thirsting Blade, Life Drinker. Yeah, we're going to grab Thirsting Blade and Life Drinker. So, alright. So, this is add Chamad to Eldritch Blast. Thirsting Blade. Make 2 attacks with your packed weapon. Life Drinker. Deal an additional amount of necrotic damage equal to your charisma modifier. Then we're going to use our updated invocation list here. We're going to give him Eldritch Smite, which lets him blow Warlock spell slots to do an additional 1d8 force damage, plus an additional 1d8 force damage for level of the slot. And if the creature is huge size or smaller, the sheer force of his attack knocks them prone. So, Eldritch Smite. When you hit a melee attack with your packed weapon, use a Warlock spell slot to deal 1d8 plus 1d8 per level of the spell in force damage to the creature. If huge size or smaller, the creature is not prone. Alright, so how many invocations do we get at this level? 12. Well, you get 6 invocations. We have picked 1, 2, 3, 4 invocations. So, what other options do we have here that we might choose? Well, from the list that's here, we could add... I'm contemplating Eldritch Sight, so he has Detect Magic at will. That's about as close. We gave him True Seeing, we might change that, but that's Detect Magic at will. Speak with Dead is reasonable, as an option. You guys wanted him to do Polymorph to talk about sort of the hollow transformation. That might not be a bad idea. Sculptor of Flesh. And the name of it also kind of is fitting. Let's look at our adjusted Warlock invocations as well over here. Yeah, Speak with Dead at Will is not bad. Our options here from our updated invocations in Unearthed Arcana, we have... Improved pack weapon, so your pack weapon is a +1, but we're not going to worry about that. We can see through solid objects. Water breathing. No. Invisibility is not high enough level. Yeah, we're probably going to grab that. And the only one that kind of that jumps out at me is Kiss of Mephistopheles, where the creature you hit with Eldritch Blast, you can use a bonus action to cast Fireball using a Warlock spell slot centered on the creature you hit with your Eldritch Blast, which isn't bad. But we gave him a lot of other, beefy offensive attacks, so I don't really know if Fireball really fits. So, yeah, we're definitely going to go with Whispers of the Grave. That's a pretty good call. Whispers of the Grave. Can cast Speak with the Dead. I will. Yeah, that's actually really good, actually. I really do like that, because it's at will without using a spell slot. He can Speak with Dead. So that's actually a pretty good ability. So we have, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of his invocations right now. I'll just throw little dashes in here so we can call them out. And I think, based on what you guys had said initially, we'll probably give him Sculptor of Flesh so he can polymorph using a spell slot, and we'll kind of call the polymorph the sort of hollow transformation-y stuff. I mean, you could argue that Otherworldly Leap also would work for crazy jumping ability without using a spell slot. I mean, either one really works, but I don't know. I feel like yeah. I think we'll go with Sculptor of Flesh. Sculptor of Flesh, and that is polymorph. Once a day. A Warlock slot. It'd be great if it was without a Warlock slot, but okay. So that covers his invocations. So, alright, we can do his AC now. Technically he doesn't wear armor, right? He just wears a robe. But we could say he's got like studded leather armor, which would be effectively his robe, even though he can technically wear medium armor because he's a Hex Blade. Oh, his initiative would be 2, and his speed would be, speed would be 30, maybe 30. There we go. 12d8. Alright, then let's call it medium armor. We'll call it a breastplate because he's got that. So that is 16. So we'll go with that. That's what his AC is at the moment. I mean, he does get hit a lot. So, what else can we give him? His HP. Let's do the math on that real quick. So that is 11 times 77 plus 10, 87. That seems significantly low, but what are you gonna do? 87 HP. Okay, so we might call it additional armor. So we're gonna call. All right, so it's supposed to be Otherworldly Weave. All right, so we're gonna call his. Does it have a name? It has a name. I just don't remember what it's called. He has some items too, right? Is it, it's like oaken clothing or something, right? Something crazy. I don't know. We'll just go with this kimono, right? We're gonna call this. This is gonna be +2 breastplate. I forget. It has a name for in this show, but we're just gonna go with that. It's a robe. It's fine. It's not a kimono technically, because that's more of a female garment, but it's all good. Let's see. Okay. So, name of the sword. I know it has a name. Guys, give me the name of the sword. I need to know. I don't remember what it's called. I want to say it's like Zangetsu, but I don't know if that's right. And then we're going to put in the sword here, which is going to be... That's right. That's what I thought it was. I didn't want to overstep my bounds and say something stupid and seem like an idiot, but let's go with Zangetsu. Right? I know it has crazy abilities, but I don't know the. We're gonna say this is gonna be a +3 weapon, right? Because +3 greatsword. So we're gonna just go Zangetsu. Now remember, this is gonna use his charisma modifier. So this is gonna be a +3 sword. So this is gonna be a +13 to hit, and the damage is gonna be 2d6. It's gonna have other abilities, but we're gonna say it's 2d6 plus his charisma modifier, which is 5, plus the 3 from the magic weapon, which is 8, plus the additional 5 necrotic damage from Life Drinker. So it's 2d6 plus 13 damage. So that's not a bad move, and he has 2 attacks, and he can choose to spend a spell slot to smite and deal extra force damage on top of that. It's going to be a crazy sword. I just haven't decided what kind of sword it's going to be. Let's go and take a look at our DM's guide over here. I think it's technically probably considered a sentient weapon too, but we're not going to go down that route. So we have a Sword of Sharpness, Sword of Vengeance, which might not be a bad one, actually. Yeah, either maybe Sword of Sharpness does more damage to objects. I think we're gonna ignore that one. Sword of Life Stealing, maybe, but it doesn't take the extra damage if it's a construct or undead, so it doesn't really fit him. Sword of Wounding is probably not bad. You hit a creature and it wounds them, and then they take additional necrotic damage on their turn, and their hits can't be healed, so that's not the worst move. Sword of Vengeance is just basically a +1 weapon with some bonding stuff that happens to it. We could always do the standby Mace of Disruption adapted to deal to be a greatsword, so it does extra damage to fiends and undead, and then it can destroy them. Actually, we're probably just gonna do that. It's funny how much that is my go-to move. It's almost uncanny, the amount of times we've had to do that. So, yeah, extra 2d6 radiant damage to fiends or undead. If it has less than 25 hit points, it's destroyed. +3 greatsword deals an additional 2d6 damage to fiends and undead. If the target is a fiend or undead and is dropped below 25 HP, must make a DC 15 Wisdom save or be destroyed. That's reasonable. I think that's a solid sword now, so he could potentially be doing 46 damage to a fiend or undead, which we could call as a hollow, and then if it's taken to a certain low hit point threshold, it would just be destroyed, which is pretty accurate to what he does. So I'm on board for that. So he was given a protective charm by his dad that at some point, I don't know when that happened, what arc that was in. And that it forms a barrier. You may just throw him that. just for the hell of it. Also, thanks Squeegee for the host, by the way, if you happen to be here in the chat. And then we'll probably give him that, and then we'll probably call it a night. This is obviously attunement, right? So this is going to be requires attunement, because this is bananas, this sword here. So that's fine. We've got his little, whatever, his Soul Reaper garb. We're just gonna call it, how about that? We'll call it, Shinigami garb. So, let's give him an Amulet of Health. We'll say this is a... What was this called? Protective Charm. We'll call it Protective Charm. Functions as a Amulet of Health and a Cloak of Protection. Oh, this also requires attunement. And then we'll make this a 19. This goes up by 1 to 19. And this goes up to 0, 3, 3, 2, 7, 11. And now we can recalculate his health, and it'll be probably more in line with what it should be. So this is 4, and this is actually 5. So what is that? 109. Now I feel like he stands a little bit of a better chance to survive several. Is it? You're right. I think it is. Is it? I thought it was. Maybe you're right. I thought it was 5. But you could be right. It might only be 4. You're right. It is only 4. Good catch. I was building too many high-level Adventure League characters today. So this should be 6. This should be 10. 5, 9, 5. 5. This drops to 12. This drops to 15. Then... Oh. And we're gonna say that the sword... +3 greatsword, blah, 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 blah. Also functions as a Rod of the Pact Keeper. +3. So this will make his spell save DC is 5, +4 is 9, and 3 is 12. Or his spell attack bonus is +12, because he hits everything. And that would make it 8 plus 9, 17, and 3 is 20. Yeah, I think that's gonna probably do it for him. He's pretty solid now. He's got a decent amount of abilities. He's got 3 slots that are all 5th level to cast his spells. Oh, I guess, and then we should put something up here that basically says, you know, regains spell slots on short rest. Because we made his sword Rod of the Pact Keeper +3. So it is 5 and 4 is 9, +8 is 17, +3 is 20. So, I think that's a reasonable amount of things that he's got going on for him right now. He's got a lot of big, flashy, damaging spells, which fit a lot of his energy-based attacks that he does. So he's got things like Shield and Hex and Wrathful Smite, Branding Smite, Cone of Cold, Destructive Wave, Banishment, Dispel Magic. He's got True Seeing. He's got his Eldritch Blast, which is an agonizing blast. He makes 2 attacks. His attack with his sword does 2d6 plus 13 damage. He can choose to smite with that using Eldritch Smite. He can speak with the dead at will. So it is... Yeah, it would be 8, because your spell save DC is always 8. You're right, I'm sorry, I was overestimating. Right? No. You're right, I think I was off. It's 8. You are correct. It's 8 plus 5 plus 3. So 17? Am I doing that right? Why am I like brain farting on this completely right now? I think you're right. I think I did totally overshoot that. Let's look. My brain is just not with it right now. Spent a lot of time out in the sun today, which I don't often do. So, yeah, you're right. I was right. 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your charisma modifier. So 8 plus 4 plus 5 plus 3. Yep. So there you go. Because a Rod of the Pact Keeper adds 3 to your spell attack bonus and 3 to your spell save DC. Oh, and then once as an action, once per long rest, you can regain a Warlock spell slot. Yes, the Rod of the Pact Keeper is phenomenal because it increases both your spell attack bonus and your spell save DC, and you can take an action and then once per long rest regain a Warlock spell slot. Rod of the Pact Keepers are no joke. It makes Wand of the War Mage look like a chump. Because Wand of the War Mage is just your spell attack. Yeah, we gave him the Observant feat, so he's a little bit more observant than normal. Oh, his perception would still actually be a 16. Yes, Hypertroller, you should. Oh, we said, like, student. Alright. Well, folks, I think that's going to do it for It Builds character tonight. We did Ichigo. It was a little bit of a stressful one. The longest one we've done so far, in that I didn't really, to be honest, I'm not too familiar with Bleach, so this was a heavy influence from the folks in the chat, and I greatly appreciate their assistance. Let's take a look at this real quick. So this is actually, we are going to, actually I can go grab that, so we're going to actually take this and cut these, and, oops. Let's go. And then, oops, bring that back up. We'll just grab Captain Jack's thing, and then Ichigo will be added. And I guess next week is Sephiroth. So I might have to boot up my old copy of Final Fantasy VII to see what I can figure out how I'm going to build Sephiroth. I feel like we're looking at another Hex Blade, but I guess we'll see how that goes. So let me just grab. Again, you guys can always suggest options and thoughts and builds you'd like to see for It Builds character going forward. As you can see, we have built many characters already, and we have many left to go. We have Sephiroth next week. followed by just a very simple Warforged Pirate. Then we have 2 characters that are going to have to research Navi Knobs from Discworld and Ezekiel Stone from the old show Brimstone. Then we have Groot, Samurai Jack, Shrek, Link, Leroy Jenkins, Ghost Rider, Tingle from the Legend of Zelda series, a Power Ranger, Guts from Berserk, another series that I'll have to watch, Kenshin from Rurouni Kenshin, hey, somebody that I actually know how to build because it's an anime I'm very familiar with, a level 20 character, Steve Rogers, aka Captain America, Angry, David Tennant, Doctor, the 10th Doctor, and then Castiel from Supernatural, which will be, I think does that put us in February? No, that's the 31st. 1/31/18. Actually, yeah. Yeah, Link is on the list, so we're excited. I'm excited for that. I'm sure we'll get to other ones in the future, so. I mean, right now we're already into January. And I think I may have missed a couple. I'll have to go back and look. But yeah, guys, I appreciate everybody coming out and hanging out with me and trying to help me figure out how to build Ichigo. I think Goku was on my list somewhere, so I may have to see if I have to... Goku's actually not on this list. I'm surprised. I think he might have been, but I'll have to look through... back through things. So, anyway, guys, I'm going to jump over to the Venture Maidens over there on the Don't Split the Podcast Network. You guys are more than welcome to join me over there. They are a great group of ladies that play D&D. They are also part of the newly released Wizards of the Coast podcast of Annihilation. So they are got that official sponsorship by the folks at D&D. And actually, Celeste, the DM, was on Dragon Talk earlier this week. I think I did that right. I hope so. So I'm going to jump over there. You guys should go check them out as well. And if you do decide to pop over there and watch their stream, type out in the chat that, hey, you're going over there because you came from my stream. That way they know that their buddy's looking out for them. Yeah, and I will be back to streaming, rebroadcasting the old campaign on Sunday. There's been so many different things, and I've been out of the area. I haven't had the opportunity. So we will continue with Know Your Role number 16's rebroadcast, or 15, whatever it is, on this coming Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern. So if you want to catch some old school D&D stuff from when we used to play upstairs in my dining room from 2 years ago, this would be the 3rd game Celine ever played of Dungeons & Dragons, if you're watching that episode on Sunday. They also are uploaded on Twitch for you guys to catch up on them there as well. They're obviously on the YouTube. And anyway, I guess the long story short of that is when we finish Tomb of Annihilation and roll back into Continuum, that is the precursor to Continuum. We are about 5 episodes out from meeting the first NPC from Continuum. So, anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. We will be back on Monday for the Belladonnas, who have finally made it to Waterdeep. And we will be back on Tuesday with Tomb of Annihilation number 4. Yeah, be on the lookout for some giveaways. I have a bunch of stuff off on the side here that I like to give away. We have another 24-hour stream coming up on November 4th. It's going to be online, and you're going to get to see some of the folks that you see in the chat and some of the folks from other streams appearing in that. So that's pretty cool. So we'll see how that goes. We're gathering people right now. Once we've got a kind of core group we're looking into. If everybody fills that out or people can't make it, we'll start expanding out and maybe reaching out to some of you lovely folks on the internet to try and play in our charity stream. So the second of 2 24-hour streams this year. And lastly, we have a Wormwood Gaming sponsorship as well. So if you go to how do you spell that? Wormwood. Oh my god, I can't even spell. Wormwood. I should make a thing for this. WormwoodGaming.com/nerdimmersion. If that link actually works, which we'll see. Yep, you cannot use that page. So there you go. I guess, see, they told me it would work. Well, there you go. They lied to me. Actually, you could probably just try the code Nerd Immersion at checkout. and that should get you free domestic shipping. So, anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.